check this out. I mean,
Are you happy with your choices?
it's shameful. It's shameful. Let me take it back to a time before COVID, a time when I used to drop my daughter off at school in the morning, come home, and have 7 hours of uninterrupted silent time. For all you parents out there, do you remember those days? This is back almost 2 years ago when I had 3 quarantine tanks set up. Actually, I think at the time I only had 2. I had a fish-only quarantine, and then I had a coral quarantine tank. I decided that since I had received a 120-gallon system, that I needed a bigger quarantine tank because I was thinking of getting something like a Toby puffer fish, and I was worried that a Toby fish would be too stressed out in a 20-gallon quarantine tank, but would do okay in like a 40-gallon quarantine tank. So I went to Petco or PetSmart during their $1-gallon sale, took it home, I set it up. This worked really well for quite a while until I just got sick of having 3 aquariums in my bedroom. So I got rid of both the 20-gallon and the 10-gallon, and I decided to go with just a 40-gallon breeder quarantine tank setup. But because I have a mix of fish and inverts, I can only use reef-safe medications if I use any medications, and biofilter safe medications. So really it's more of just an observation tank and a frag tank. Originally the 40-gallon setup was super cheap. I think I spent $50 on the 40-gallon breeder tank. I purchased the Penplax 300 from Amazon, which I think was under $30 for a hang on the back filter. I threw some PVC in there, picked up the Mars Aqua 300 watt LED light from Amazon for something like $200, and it became my de facto quarantine tank slash frag tank. Fast forward a year and a half later, I had a 120-gallon right behind me, and I was sick of it for a whole bunch of reasons. I actually made an entire video on the 120 breakdown. You can click up here, check the description below if you want to watch that video. I had 10 fish that had to be removed, so I put all 10 fish from the 120-gallon into the 40-gallon breeder tank. And about this same time, I also started picking up some frags. Well, because I was making a video for Marine Depot, they gave me the Marine Depot 30-inch Elite Sump by Trigger system. I drilled the tank, installed an Elite overflow, and then I hard plumbed the system, and I turned this inexpensive 40-gallon breeder tank into a behemoth and a gorgeous frag tank slash quarantine tank with filtration to die for, really. Marine Depot also wanted me to review one of their control boards. They gave me the basic control board, which is the smaller one, but a whole bunch of accoutrements to go with it. I have another whole video on that. Check the description below if you want to see that video. But it was a really good opportunity to organize all of my wires and my controllers and make what started out as a really cheapy frag tank slash quarantine tank into a high-end unit. Well, part of the breakdown process for the 120-gallon was moving the refugium from one tank to the other. And part of that was I knew my new quarantine tank was gonna get cyano and it was gonna get dinos because they were both hanging on to the macroalgae. It was a huge pain in the display tank because it was growing on the frag rack, it was growing on the glass, it was growing on the return nozzles, and it was growing on the frag plugs and suffocating out my different corals and my anemones, and just was super unsightly. And not only was it growing in the display, but it was growing all over my macroalgae in the refugium as well. So what did I do? I decided it was time to install a UV sterilizer, do some research, and really attack this dino problem. So of course I made another video about that. You can check out the video, link below, as the saga of the 40-gallon breeder tank continues. Installed the UV sterilizer and started a regimen for defeating dinos, which included all sorts of things, such as reducing the light schedule, changing my lights, dosing heterotrophic bacteria, changing my filter sock out, manually removing. And for the most part, it worked. But for those of you who have dealt with dinoflagellates, you know that it's a super lengthy process to get rid of them. Fast forward to about 6 months ago, I was watching a video on YouTube about a whole bunch of different cheap and expensive LED lights that you could get off of Amazon, and they reviewed the Mars Aqua light, which was the 300 watt light that I had, and it was by far the worst worst of all of the lights, primarily because the lenses were so focused that the light went straight down. So in the center, you had a ton of par, and at the corners, you had almost no par. So I immediately raised up my lights from 12 inches to 20 inches to help better spread out that light. But I was still curious as to how much par my lights are putting out. So I did a whole bunch of research and I bought a par meter. And lo and behold, even at 20 inches, I was getting around 400 par at the frag rack in the center, which was way too much and way more than I thought I was getting. And on the corners, it was getting under 100. So the difference was huge. After installing both the AI light and the Kessel light, I again used the par meter, and I found out that the AI light puts out a good amount of par, but the Kessel A80 Tuna Blue does not put out very much par, even at 100%. So that just meant that I had to make sure I put the majority of my coral frags a little bit closer to the AI. So where are we today? Well, let me take you on a tour, and we're gonna start with the bad first. Well, for the most part, the dynos are gone from the display tank, but check this out. They're still in the refugium big time. So here, let's turn this on real quick. Yikes. See that? I mean, but at this point, if it's growing down here on top of all the macroalgae, I'm not concerned. The pods seem to be okay. I mean, look at them. You can see them crawling around on the side. And it's keeping it out of the display tank. It is what it is. I'm going to count this one as a win. Problem number 2, I can't even consider it a problem. A little bit of salt creep. I mean a little bit. Here's the MD Elite overflow, and if you look here, looks on the side, right? Other than that, that's not really a very big problem. Problem number 3 is just some detritus buildup. I just have to be a little bit vigilant. Overall, I don't even think it really matters because the nitrates and phosphates are under control, so the level of detritus buildup doesn't seem to be affecting the overall biological filtration. The 4th struggle, which is my always struggle, is, of course, unhappy anemones. The nems were never meant to be here. They were in here because they needed a home. So this was better than nothing. And this tank is just not the best for them because there've been so many changes and there've been parameter swings, but they just keep getting smaller and smaller. I mean, look how small this one is. He used to be so big and now he's tiny. So I don't hold out much hope for them. I'm gonna try to keep things as stable as I humanly can so that maybe they'll make a comeback. I mean, look at this anemone. I'm going to show you some pictures right now, a little flashback of how beautiful this anemone was. And it's shameful. It's shameful how I haven't cared for this. I've done everything I know how to, but man, my anemones just struggle. And yet, what am I going to be doing over here? Building a harem tank with a whole bunch of anemones. So I have big hopes, and I'm doing everything in my power to do this right. And the last struggle I'm really having is just water parameter struggle, and really it just has to do with the nitrate and the phosphate. And there's a few different things that I've been playing with to try to get it just right. Let me show you. So how quickly I change out my filter sock. If I don't change it out as frequently, then of course there's going to be more breakdown, more nitrate and phosphate. For a while here, I was really struggling with my nitrates and phosphates bottoming out. So I put the Bubble Mega skimmer on a timer, and I would run it 12 hours a day, and then I would adjust it. But the goal is to just run this unit 24 hours a day, which is what I currently do. Another factor is how much nitrate and phosphate is being consumed by the macroalgae. So after struggling with all of these things, I was able to raise up my phosphates. And then one day, something happened. My phosphates went from like 0.1 to 0.5, and the next day over 1.0. And I was trying to figure, I was like, what the heck is going on? And it took me a while, but I figured it out. Well, part of this dinoflagellate problem I've been having is I've been dosing Microbacter 7 and Dr. Tim's Waste Away as beneficial bacteria to help outcompete the dinos. Well, it didn't seem to be working, so I stopped doing that. Well, that was a huge problem because evidently my entire nitrate and phosphate levels were dependent on those beneficial bacteria being dosed daily. So as soon as I cut those off completely, of course they went sky high because there just wasn't nearly as much beneficial bacteria to consume things. Those numbers are coming back down now. Let's look at the lighting schedule I'm running for this tank, and then let's break out the par meter and see where exactly the par levels are at right now. Okay, let's start with the Tuna Blue. I just have it on a Wi-Fi outlet, and it runs from 9 to 5 every single day. But then with my AI lights, let's see what we got here. Basically, here's how I'm doing this. And this is just a modified AB Plus schedule from Ecotech. The photo period is 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. All right, and it has a 1 hour ramp at the beginning from 8 to 9. And then in the evening, if you look here closely, you'll see the photo period really does end at 5 o'clock, which is right here. And it goes down really quickly from 5 to 6. But I keep the lights on all the way until 9 p.m. without very much par, but at least I have some nice viewing in the evening. That's why I did that. And if you look at right now, the lights are on 100%. So we basically have the blues at 100%, no reds, no greens, and then my whites are at 50%. And let's see what the par reading is at the level of the frag rack. Another new addition is the automatic feeder. This is the Lifeguard Aquatics IntelliFeed, which I just featured in a video. And I also have it going into the Innovative Marine Gourmet Defroster. I didn't really need either of these, but I figured I had them. I just do one rotation 4 times a day on this thing. Gives them, a decent amount of food, and then I supplement that with some frozen food about lunchtime. I've been using these random flow generators on this thing since the beginning. They're fantastic, and they put out quite a bit of flow, but it wasn't quite enough. So I went ahead and added the Reef Breeders RP-M down there, and I just have it set up to do, just a simple pulse, and I think it gives the perfect amount of flow. Check this out. Just enough flow for, I think, the anemones and the soft corals. So that was a good addition. I'm going to leave that there. Another upgrade I made was to these smart outlets, but it comes in these 4-packs. Here, take a peek. It's like $20, I'd say. And you get 4 individually controllable smart outlets that are really small, and I think I'm using 4 of them. Let's look here. So I'm using them for, let's see, my Kessel A80 Tuna Sun, which is my refugium light. I'm using them for my Kessel A80 Tuna Blue, which is a display tank light. I'm using it for my Bubble Magus protein skimmer, even though it's on 24 hours a day. And I'm also, I was using it for the UV sterilizer, but now I just have it on 24 hours a day. So what I like about this app is just like what app, I don't even know what it's called. Smart Life app. It controls so much. On my outside, I have it controlling my outdoor lights and my fountain. And then I have it set up by tank, the Fluval M60, the Lux 90, 40-gallon breeder. So here's my 40-gallon breeder. I can just go ahead and turn them on and off right here, or you can set a timer. So like for the Tuna Sun right up here, I have it set for a timer. It runs basically 4 p.m. to 6 a.m. every single day. Okay, moving on to fish. I have a lot of fish in this little tank. We got the Royal Gramma Basset. He likes to live in the live rock. He's fun to watch. He doesn't come out very much. He almost never swims free except at feeding time, but he'll just dart in and out of that live piece of rock. I have a rose goby or shrimp goby. You can call him whatever you want. He's just some sort of shrimp goby. He seems to be doing fine, super small. Don't really see him except during feeding time. We have 2 lyre tail anthias. Both of them are females, not one's turned to a male yet. My favorite fish is the foxface rabbitfish. He is getting huge. He eats so much food. I almost think he's getting too big for this tank. So he's one that I might be able to move eventually to the new system. We'll have to wait and see on that. Then I got the longnose hawk and the flame hawk. They're great. The longnose hawk is probably the most personable. The flame hawk, he likes to hang out underneath the frag rack, so I don't see him as much except during feeding. The 6-line wrasse is still super tiny, really hasn't grown much. And I know 6-line wrasses are really small. Used to swim a lot more freely in my 120-gallon. Then we got the one blue damselfish. I don't know if it's a sapphire damselfish. I don't know what kind of damsel you would call it. Even though they're semi-aggressive, he's doing fine. Sometimes the anthias and the damselfish will pick on each other, but then they seem to work out their aggression issues. And then lastly, I got one Percula clownfish who's doing great. For Anybody who knows me and has followed me for very long, you know that I'm terrible with coral names. Terrible. Not only with like specific coral names, I can barely tell the difference sometimes between like Favia, Favites, Pleiades, chalices, war corals, Cyphastrea. I'm just not good at it, and I know I need to get better. So I did some research, and I'm going to try my best here to name all of these correctly, but I'm sure I'm going to get it wrong, so leave a comment below and tell me which ones I got wrong. First up, we got random zoas. I don't know what they are, but they're some sort of zoa. I'm sure they have some sort of fancy names. You can see on the zoas, there's a little bit of nuisance algae growing around them. They definitely struggled. All of my corals struggled when I first put them in here because the dinos were growing up and agitating them, so I had to pull them out and brush them off with a toothbrush. Number 3, I believe it's called a war coral Favite. It's a really cool coral because as it's growing out very slowly, it's changing. The top of it is like a deep blue purple color, but the new growth on the sides is this really bright red. And I'm sure for some of you who have had these corals before, you're like, duh, that's obviously what happens. But I've never actually had this coral before, so I'm really excited to see what happens as it grows. All right, moving on. Number 4, Blue Wave Favia. This one's really boring. I don't know. Under my lights, it just looks gray, basically. I think it's doing fine. My 5th frag, I got the Red People Eater Zoas. These ones are probably the only zoas that I actually know their names, but they're gorgeous. I mean, you guys know this. They're really, really beautiful. I have no idea what this next one is. Is it a Favia? Is it a Favite? Is it a Pleiade? I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me what this one is. I have no clue what it is. After this one, we got, I think it's a Pink Valley Pleiade, but it has just had so much nuisance algae. Even now, it has it growing on top of it. So what would you guys do? I mean, would you gently brush it off, or would you damage the coral more doing that? Just have to wait and see. I don't think this one's going to do well. I don't think it's going to survive, but who knows? We'll wait and see. I don't think it's dead yet, so we'll just keep going with it. Then we got 2 Blastos. Like, one of them's an Ultra Aussie Blasto and one's just a regular Blasto. They look the same to me. I don't know. But one of the Blastos has 1 head, one of the Blastos has 3 heads, and one of them is the fancier Ultra Australian. They both might be Australian for all I know. I can't tell the difference. That's why I don't buy high-end corals, because I think my eye just can't tell the subtle color differences with some of these, so why not just get more of the boring ones, you know? Cyphastrea, I think. It's the blue and pink one. Really pretty as well. I don't know what kind it is. It's really beautiful, but I think it's a Cyphastrea. A green chalice. I think it's a chalice. Seems to be doing fine. Again, not a lot of growth, but it's gorgeous. Some sort of random acro. I got this one from a local friend who lives in the Coachella Valley, and it hasn't grown a whole lot, but it's doing okay. I believe it's pink waving hand Anthelia, again from a fellow reefer. He had it on some live rock, but I didn't want to put that live rock in there, so I cut off a few pieces with a X-Acto knife, and then I just glued them onto there, and they are doing fantastic. Of course, they might take over my whole tank, but it's a quarantine tank, so not a big deal. I can always give them away as need be. The huge Rhodactis mushroom. This thing is gorgeous. I did a trade for some equipment from the same guy who gave me the Anthelia, and beautiful mushroom. I've never had Rhodactis mushroom before. Then I got some green star polyps. They're fine. They're like a tubular form of green star polyp. Again, having a lot of algae issues on them, so should I brush off the algae, or would that just do more damage to the green star polyp? In the back too, we got the toxic zebra Pleiade. Really gorgeous under those fluorescent, under those blues and those violets. Then we got a hammer coral. I don't know what kind of hammer it is. I got it from a friend of mine up in Pacific Northwest. Sent me down a whole bunch of Euphyllia back before Euphyllia went crazy prices. That's all the corals. I got another shipment coming in because they had a 50% off sale to Aqua SD, and so I have another shipment coming in about a week. What to do with all my fish? Now, this is a little bit of a conundrum because right over here, I'm building the clownfish harem tank, and all of these fish are not going to be able to fit over there. Not only are there space constraints, but some of the fish just aren't going to play well together. I think I might be able to move a few fish over there. Coral plans for the 40-gallon breeder. Freg, grow out. That's it. What about using it as a quarantine tank? I'm going to keep doing that for now, but I'm going to eventually, in the near future, have to get another quarantine tank for fish, because let's be realistic, even though this is a quarantine tank, it's really more of an observation tank, because I'm not going to be using any harsh chemicals that harm invertebrates or that harm the biological filter, there really aren't a lot of good options. And even some of those healthier options, they still might have a negative influence on the coral. So I'm really hesitant to do that. I talked about a lot of videos. If you want to see those videos, just scroll down to the description. I'll put links to all those videos down there. And if you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing to My First Fish Tank and to Marine Depot. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you next time. Happy reefing.